First thing, get the sealing ring and connect it onto the connector body. Make sure it gets onto the very end of the threads. Insert the retaining cap onto the heat trace cable. Next, you're going to want to put the friction washer onto the heat trace cable. After that, the sealing grommet. Make sure these are all in the proper direction or they will not sit properly. Now insert the connector body onto the cable. Ensure the beveled edge meets the sealing grommet. With about 6 to 8 inches of cable exposed, remove the outer jacket with a razor blade. Ensure not going too deep to cut the braid. Separate the grounding braid from the inner core by making a small hole in the braid and pulling the cable through. Approximately 1 inch from the braid exit point, score the circumference of the inner jacket. Do not cut the heater core. Remove the inner jacket. Shave the cord material from the outside of each bus wire. Ensure that you do not cut into the bus wires. At the end of the cable, create a V-notch with a pair of wire cutters. Using needle nose pliers, grab each bus wire and pull it away from the heater core material. Expose each wire down to the intact inner jacket. Remove the heater core back to the inner jacket. Using your exposed bus wires as a reference, cut to the desired length your heat shrink tube. Cut both pieces so they can match. Leave about 1 inch from the end of the wire for your connection. Slide each 1/8 inch shrink tube over each bus wire. Shrink with a heat gun or torch until tubing is completely shrunk. Slide the 1/2 inch shrink tube over both bus wires and the inner jacket and shrink down with the heat gun. While still warm, using needle nose pliers, spread the bus wires apart and squeeze between them, holding for 5 seconds. Ensure the bare wires do not touch each other and there's no other connections of the wires on the inside. Insert the heat cable and all of its connection parts into the junction box. Use the conduit lock nut to attach firmly to the junction box. Use a pair of pliers to properly seat the conduit lock nut onto the connector body through the junction box. Ensure that the seal ring is firmly against the junction box, creating a seal. With the desired amount of heat cable exposed inside the junction box, use the retaining cap and the friction washer to properly seat against the connector body. Use pliers to fully tighten. Prepare the power supply cables by stripping the ends to about 1 inch of exposed copper core. Take the neutral wire from the power supply wire and 1 bus wire from the heat cable. Attach firmly together and attach with a supplied wire nut. It does not matter which heat cable bus wire goes to the neutral power supply wire. Repeat this step for the remaining bus wire and power supply wire. Finish these connections with electrical heat tape as desired. Attach the ground braid from the heat cable to the ground wire from the power supply. Twist together properly. Slide the brass grommet over the connection and crimp firmly with a pair of pliers. Make sure they are firmly attached and won't slide apart. For the end seal, remove the outer jacket about 1 inch away from the edge. Remove all of the braid wire by cutting it all off. It is not needed. Cut a V-notch in the very end. With the V-notch, now wrap all the mastic tape around the end, ensuring that you go from the outer jacket all the way up to the V-notch, diapering through the V-notch. Make sure there's no chance the water can connect to the bus wires. Heat shrink the end seal and make sure to flatten the end with needle nose pliers. For any other questions about your heat trace system, call heat trace specialists.